Darlin. Oh, hey, Darlin. Am I mad about it? No, I'm not mad about earlier. I'm not. In fact, I wanted to talk to you about that. Need I bring up why? Well, no, darling. No. Darling, I'm not mad at you. Let's just go ahead and make that clear. I'm not mad at you. Just for the record. No, actually, I wanted to talk to you about that. You were jealous, weren't you? Yeah, don't look away flustered. I know when you're jealous. You can't hide that from me. I kind of figured out you were jealous by the way you showed up dressing in one of your best outfits just because the neighbor girl showed up with that stallion. Yes, I knew exactly what she was wearing. You wanted to make it clear to her that I was already taken. Yeah. Darling, you called her a heifer. And I know she called you a floozy, which that was... Yeah, we're not even going to go any further with that. Yes, it was rather funny that you two also got to rolling around in the mud because y'all got to fighting. I wouldn't really call it a fight, just more of mud wrestling. To be honest, I thought it was funny. Yeah, it was funny. Well, I hoped your shower was enjoyable. I kind of figured it was. I saw steam rolling in the front. Yeah, that water was hot. Yes, where you could boil lobsters with that water. Or crawfish. No, darling, I'm not mad at you. No, I don't want her. I want you. I don't want her hips. I want your hips. Why? Because I picked you. Need I bring up how we met? Yeah, we met at a comic shop because it was an after party for a convention. Darling, just know I have no eyes for her. Plus that gal has an attitude. You wanted to rain on her sunny pride. Well, I can't fault you for that. But don't do it again. Now that stallion is going to be a fun one to deal with because I can hear him kicking the stall doors. But I do have to go to town to do some shopping next week. Yes, we can go to Hot Topic. Okay, darling. Yes, I love you too. So, how are y'all doing? My name is Rip RedCorn, otherwise known as Mississippi Gonzo Grunge. So, as you know by now, I tend to do these after commentary videos to discuss where I got the inspiration from and, all that sort of jive. Shucking and jiving, jiving and shucking, whatever you want to call it. That's some old school terminology for my older viewer fan base. But I only do these ASMR videos on special occasions because I was going to do one in August. Never got around to it. But I figured I might as well go ahead and upload for September. I might do another one in September because why not? Yeah, I do have some planned for October because that's when Halloween comes out. And, those of you, Well, my OG subscribers, they know that I love Halloween. I just love that time of year. You know, the fall and winter nights, everything gets scarier at night, it gets darker. You know, I personally like to live somewhere like that where it just gets dark around 5 o'clock. It's like, hey, the sun's going down at 4:30. Yeah. I turn into Ronnie Coleman. Yeah, buddy. Woo! But anyway, that's beside the point. So, where do I go off on next? Well, not really go off, but yeah. The inspiration behind this story. So, quite a while back, there was this girl that I used to ride horses with. Her and her husband, kind of on an impulse buy, bought this young stallion who was rather destructive. Well, to an extent, he was destructive. Like, he was kicking stall doors and trying to get out and just constantly, you know, raising the ruckus for no good reason. Just raising the dickens for no good reason. Just making all kinds of unnecessary racket. So that took quite a while to get him tamed down. And they brought him to me because they couldn't do nothing with him. And her husband was one of those quote-unquote country dudes. Well, he wasn't really country. He was like, he was one of those boys that thought he was country. Sort of say. You know, I went to, those of y'all that have been to any sort of school down south, you know what I'm talking about. These dudes that they think they're country because they drive a ragged out lifted truck and, you know, they wear like certain type of clothing so it makes them country. That's what he was. And it's like, dude, you live, well, there was this lake in the old, where I used to live at. There was this lake and that's where his people were from. And it was one of those lakes where back in the day it was kind of funny. It was like, oh yeah, you go up there to get some, you know, substances, but now it's gentrified with a homeowners association. That's where he was from. But this idiot, which is her husband, and her bought this stallion on an impulse buy. They couldn't do nothing with it, and quite frankly, she had no business dealing with a stallion. Because stallions are a completely different, you know, it's just a different ball game in trying to train them. So they brought the horse to me because, you know, she told my mom about it. My mom's like, oh, sure, just bring the horse on up here. I'll have my son deal with it. And I'm like, gee willikers, thanks, Mom. So, luckily enough, I did not get my roof knocked in by this stallion because he had a habit of kicking and rearing up, and it's like, yeah, you're going to be a fun one. But, you know, long story short, around a year goes by and I just got this stallion to the point I can ride him. All he needed was some work, but at that point, she just said, keep the damn stallion. She didn't want it anymore. So, do I have the stallion concurrently? No, I do not have the stallion currently. I actually ended up giving that horse to an uncle of mine who needed one. So I said, here, have this stallion. You know, he needed it, and, you know, he was like, oh, yeah, you can have it. You know, it's just one less problem for me to deal with. And, you know, my uncle still has to stallion because he's like, that's the best damn horse I ever had. And all that stallion needed was some work. You know, that's just kind of the funny part. Now that I look back at it, I think it's kind of hilarious. So, going forward, now the neighbor girl in question is based off of someone that I do know. So, yeah, I figured I might as well go ahead and just, you know, see how far I can run with it. So it's kind of funny. So, yeah, I'm not really sure what else I can say at this point. But yeah, I only do these ASMR videos as kind of a occasional thing because, you know, I don't believe in doing them all the time. It gets kind of old it gets kind of old after a while of just uploading them, I would say daily, but, you know, some people can do it. I can't. Now, I know there's some people, they might upload one ASMR video a week, but, you know, that's not me because I don't... Like I said, I really don't do this. This was just kind of a thing. I said, oh yeah, I'm going to do this for April Fool's Day. And then people were like, hey, do more of these. And given everything else, whatever. So yeah, I only do these every so often because, why not? I figured, give Rip RedCorn a chance to shine because he needs it. So yeah, and I'll probably do a video where I do explain the inside joke to Rip RedCorn and the meaning to Mississippi Gonzo Grunge. I'll explain all that in due time. Because I do have another video that I'll be using where I'll be talking about, this type of stuff. Just talking about, certain types of other topics. Nothing serious, just general, foolishness and stuff like that. But I've done rambled on enough, so I'm going to go ahead and mark it an end and wrap up. So yeah, that's the whole backstory behind the well, before I actually do finish off, there really was an incident that did happen that did involve a girl I was dating and this other gal, sort of say, that I also rode horses with. Completely different gal. Now, I was doing something. I want to say it was at an event. And these two met each other and they were already kind of back and forth, nitpicking at each other. Well, things went from 0 to 100 really quick. And they got to fighting and they ended up rolling around in the mud. Which was rather hilarious. To me it was hilarious, but, not because these two girls were fighting over me, but because they were rolling around in the mud like old... Well, you know where I was going to go with it, but anyway, I better not go any further. But pretty much afterwards, I did have a talk with the girl I was dating at the time and said, yeah, it was funny. But don't do it again. But the girl that she was fighting with, she ended up... I want to say she ended up getting married and she's got 2 kids now. But, I'm going to go ahead and wrap that up. So, yeah, that's the whole backstory behind it, was that, yes... This girl I was dating did get into an altercation with another girl that I knew that rode horses. The stallion story also happened. And yeah, and I only do these videos on special occasions. So that's about enough of me rambling on. I really need to do a better job of planning this stuff out a bit better so I can know exactly what to say at the end of these videos. So I figured I'd go ahead and, wrap this up right now. So then, y'all have a great day and a balling weekend. Don't do anything stupid. I am Mississippi Gonzo Grunge, aka Rip RedCorn. And I will be doing more Rip RedCorn ASMR videos soon enough. So then, y'all take care of yourselves. Be sure to exercise, drink water, and all that jazz. So other than that, thank you and good night. Take care of yourselves and have fun.